Algebra 2 Final Review, Part 2, Sample Questions, number 4. We're solving this radical equation. In order to solve a radical equation, you first have to isolate the square root, or whatever radical you're working with. We're going to do this by adding 5 using inverse operations. Add 5 to both sides of the equation. And bring down what remains. Negative 2 plus 5 would be a 3. And now we have our square root isolated. In order to undo a square root, you would use the inverse operation, which is squaring both sides of the equation. Over here, the square of a square root is going to just come out to be x plus 3, or 3 plus x. And this is going to equal 9. To get x alone, you're going to use inverse operation, subtract 3 from both sides. X is equal to 3. X is equal to 6. 9 minus 3. X is equal to 6. And we're going to check this. Always check your answer because it might be extraneous. So we're going to check it by substituting that solution into the original equation. This is going to be the square root of 3 plus 6 minus 5 outside of the square root equals a negative 2. The square root of 9 is 3 minus 5. 3 minus 5 does equal negative 2, so that is a solution. X equals 6 is an accepted solution. Question 5. We're finding the exact value of the sine of 210 degrees. Important to remember your quadrant layout and how all trig functions are positive in quadrant 1. Only the sine function is positive in quadrant 2. Only the tangent function is positive in quadrant 3, and only cosine function is positive in quadrant 4. The other thing to realize is where are your angle markers, or your quadrantals. This is 0 degrees. Right here would be 90 degrees. Right here would be 180 degrees. Right here would be 270 degrees. 360 degrees will end up in the same terminal location as 0 degrees. 210 degrees, we have to find out what quadrant that would be in, and that would be in quadrant 3, since 210 lies between 180 and 270. 210 degrees is in quadrant 3. Only tangent is positive in quadrant 3. Only tangent ratios are positive in that quadrant 3. The other thing is to realize your reference angle formula. The reference angle formula for quadrant 3 would be that you have to take the angle theta and take off 180 degrees. So we're going to take the angle 210 degrees and take off the 180 degrees. Your reference angle is 30 degrees. That tells us that the sine of 210 degrees, which we're trying to find, is equivalent to the sine of 30 degrees, your reference angle. However, remember how only tangent is positive in quadrant 3, so the value of sine is going to have a negative in front. And then the last thing would be to realize that the sine of 30, the exact value from our charts, is 1/2, and we're going to make that negative. Therefore, the sine of 210 degrees is negative 1/2. And remember, whenever it has exact trig ratios, you have to go by that chart that we have learned in class. Another concept of part 2 is writing an exponential regression function, and this is all done on the calculator. We're going to go to the stat menu. We're going to press the stat menu, and then we're going to go to edit, and we're going to clear out whatever data we have in our list by highlighting over the list heading, hitting clear and down. Same thing for list 2. Highlight over list 2's heading, clear and down. Now we're going to enter the data. We're going to enter our input values into list 1 on different lines. And then we're going to enter our output values into list 2, 120, 180, whatever the chart reads, 210, 405. So once again, you hit the stat menu, you go to edit, you enter input values into list 1, and you enter the output values into list 2. And then we're going to go back to stat, and we're going to go to calc. Hit stat again, go over to calc, and then you're going to scroll down until you see exp regression. So we're going to scroll down to that option and then hit enter. And that's going to bring up your values. And round, however they ask you. In this particular question it says nearest hundredth, so if possible, if needed, you would round to that. So then it tells you the structure of the equation, which makes sense because this is the structure of an exponential function. And then it tells you the a value and the b value. We're not going to need the r values for this question. A is 80 and b is 1.5. So we're not going to really have a rounding issue here. However, since they ask you to round to the nearest hundredth, what we're going to do is we're going to make this 80.00 and we're going to make this 1.50 so that we have accounted for the hundredth spot. And then we're going to substitute our values. So y is equal to, we're going to put our a value, we're going to open up parentheses and put our b value, and we're going to raise that to the x power. This is your equation that matches the data in this table of values using the stat menu on the calculator.